Masonic Lite podcast. This is Past Master calling in with my critique, thoughts, whatever you want to call it, on episode 85 entitled, When is Enough Enough? Initially, when I heard Maris pick the title for this, I thought this was going to be a major dud, but it turned out to be a pretty good episode because I've been complaining about the same things you guys did. We have half the members we did years ago, and we're still doing the same stuff we did. A couple of things I noted or heard again. Deadman, you're hanging with Larry Maris too long. They're York Rite degrees, not plays. I don't know what's with you two birds. Let's see here. Pete, you're stressed out because you're in charge of 3 different bodies. Why don't you try and do 4 next year? And let's see here. Oh, and Josh Lamberton spoke. Larry, you shot him down and said he talks too much. Leave the young man alone. He's got to grow. He certainly isn't going to learn anything hanging around you, so just let him go. Jim Stevens' Lodge Business Brief. Very good again. And let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, I mentioned this before. These Masonic marketplace ads, they have to go. They're way too hokey. Pete, Tim, Jack, they're awful. They're terrible. Just give it up. I'm heading upstate tomorrow for bear hunting. I'll listen to episode 86 when I get back after, December 3rd or 4th I'm coming home. I'm not sure. Any more episodes like this, I might not come home ever again. You guys have a good Thanksgiving. Bye.
From the new recording lair located deep beneath the Wine and Spirit store in Ephrata, Pennsylvania.
You're listening to the Masonic Lite podcast.
Studio 665 presents Masonic Lite podcast. This show is recorded by Masons, for Masons, and is for entertainment purposes only. And please, no wagering.
This podcast is not endorsed by any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous ramblings of the hosts are their own. And now, here's your host.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to episode number 89.
Unless you're listening to this next summer, and then it won't be New Year when they listen to it. So,
89.
But it'll still be episode 89.
89.
89.
Wow.
Tonight's episode is brought to you by our Masonic Lite patrons. If you would like to become a sponsor of our show, please visit patreon.com/Masonic Lite podcast. And I did make a special list.
What?
You ready? I'll do it really quick. I'm not like Micro Machine Guy, but I'll go quick. Thank you to Adam Samuel Roth, Bruce Lynn, Larry Maris, Dan Madrigal, Daniel Hogan, David Sullivan, Frank Vitale, Jason Brewster, Jason Short, Jim Stevens, Jack Harley, Josh Brown, Peter Ruggieri, Matt Blaisdell, Mike Hambrecht, Scott Mason, Sean Paget, Skylar Clark, Stephen Alexander, Stephen Johnson, and Tim Deadman.
Yes.
Yay!
Not going to read you every time, but I just want to give you a shout out. Thank you.
That's nice. That's nice.
Let the record show that we're donors too.
Yes.
We're not pulling anything out of this mess.
Yes.
But thank you.
And yes, thank you, Patreons.
So on tonight's episode, are we also going to hear? We have other clips that are going to be on here that are normal guys. Jim Stevens.
Got Jim Stevens.
Is there? Are we going to recycle a Michelle?
Yeah, I can pull an old Michelle.
Okay.
She did send an email saying she was sending a new one. Did you get that yet?
I have not.
Okay. Yeah, she was working on it.
And we are working on a new super secret segment.
Yes, we are.
That may or may not ever happen.
Well,
And
I don't know
if it
this.
does, then you'll know about it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm unaware because the rest of the group here is in a little chat,
Yes.
a group chat that I refuse to be part of.
He self-excluded himself.
Pete, in a tantrum, removed himself from a group text. And,
There is no hell like a group text. So, I mean, I'm curious to see what all you guys did for the show, since you guys made all these decisions.
when we go to break, you'll know.
So tonight's show, we are actually going to have a topic. So I'll give you a little teaser here. It's Jack's topic, the flood of light. So many papers, so little time.
Okay.
So we'll explain that in a little bit.
So it should be clear to everyone that nobody had this ahead of time and nobody's done any research. So we're just spitballing it.
Oh,
here.
actually, I have.
All right, nice.
Yeah,
All
actually,
right.
I have.
All right, Larry.
So we'll go around the horn. It's been a while.
Yes.
Tim, what have you been up to since we saw you in Reading?
Well, actually, I don't know that we did an Around the Horn at Reading, so I'm going to cover
Kinda,
a couple of things that I attended the Grand Lodge Communication, which was just prior to that, where we voted in a new Grand Master. Obviously,
They actually vote for it? I thought the fix was in.
no. Well, it's we may have UN observers coming to check it out.
Baby blue helmets.
There were actual votes cast.
1-0.
1-0.
Yeah.
No, actually, I think it was like it was in the hundreds, counting all the lodges.
I heard Ralph Nader got 3 votes.
They might have. They meant to vote for Pat Buchanan, though. So, anyhow,
I'm so old.
we did mention, but it was in December. We attended the installation of our own Josh as worshipful master of Lamberton Lodge.
Yay.
Yay! And I have to say, we participated in the Word of the Chair ceremony that past masters know about. We won't talk about that, but 3 of us actually.
Well, it's a good thing the 3 of us went.
It's
or
a
they
good thing.
wouldn't have been able to do it.
We're not going to throw anybody under the bus tonight. Let me just say, it was a true highlight of mine
I could have done it.
to be at. It was a highlight of mine of my Masonic career, not the, but to be able to be a part of that for Josh.
Absolutely.
And so that was really cool, and it actually gave me an idea that we can talk about at some point, and that is that we could actually do some degree work among this group.
The Masonic Light degree team?
Yeah, that could be interesting, huh?
Ooh.
We're kind of like the replacement refs, or like the
I do a pretty good third.
I can do a second.
All right.
I'm the best senior warden going.
There you go.
And I've been a
Larry
chaplain.
can be the Tyler.
Oh, I have been a chaplain.
I'm a pretty
And
good
actually,
person.
you know them all, so right there you go.
Yeah.
As far as anybody knows.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what the card says.
So what else you up to, Tim?
Basically, other than just kicking off the year and my own lodge, Eureka West Shore Lodge number 302, where I got to do a program on a topic that we've covered numerous times, and that is the 5 aspects of Freemasonry. And I think we'll talk about that maybe a little later
Yeah, I
in the
think
show.
that'd be a great topic,
But anyway, that's been the real highlight to this point in the year. So had a very restful holiday, and I was reflecting that it's been a long time since we've been together, since Reading. So
It has been almost a month.
yeah.
Jack, what have you had going on?
I went to the Grandmaster's Gala. I did not go to the actual installation ceremony, but I went to the gala banquet the following evening, and that was a great time. Brought my wife. We made a long weekend of it in Philadelphia. We toured the Eastern State Penitentiary, which was very cool, and we went to the Barnes Foundation Museum and learned a little bit about art. And we just had a blast in
The dude was
Philadelphia.
into African masks
He was
and impressionists.
He was into impressionists a lot, and if you
Rich
look
Little was his favorite.
at my Facebook page, there is a picture called "Young Man with Skull." It's a Renoir, and Young Man with Skull looks suspiciously like some aspect of Masonic stuff that you might have seen or experienced not in Pennsylvania.
So listeners all over the world are Googling that right now.
Yeah, so scour my Facebook page for the picture of Renoir's Young Man with Skull. It's awesome. So other than that, I've really just been concentrating on Lodge here, working with the new candidates and the new Master Masons to make sure that they know all the stuff that they're supposed to know. And I'm going to tell you, they're excited about it. Everybody thought that this new learning thing was going to be a terrible burden. And these guys are digging it. They're working hard and they're learning the work, and we're really proud of them. I went yesterday down with a carload of guys to Amicable St. John's Lodge to witness the installation of a young man as the new worshipful master of Amicable St. John's number 25 in Maryland. And he and all of the officers of Amicable St. John's Lodge were installed by their counterparts in the Grand Line. So it was a really cool experience to see all the Grand Lodge officers up there participating in the installation of a new master. He's a 27-year-old kid. Just really well-spoken, young guy, but knows the work, knows the lodge. He's passionate about it. And what I was really excited to see, and props to Amicable St. John's, if there's anybody from down there listening.
I don't think they have internet in Maryland.
They actually we have a couple of fans down there.
Okay.
We do. But on their list of officers being installed, of the 10 or 11 officers that were being installed, there were only 3 that were past masters, what they would call worshipful brothers down there. And one of them was the secretary, who is almost always a past master. One of them is the marshal, and he's just a sort of a fixture in the lodge. And then there was one who is a placeholder until the guy coming up behind him can learn the work well enough to go to the east. So that's a sign of a good, healthy lodge, when you've got that many people, that many new brothers taking chairs and serving the lodge. I think that I really commend them for that. So that was really exciting. And so that's kind of it for me. We're looking forward to a great year at Ephrata Lodge. And I don't know. We'll talk more later. Larry, what's up with you?
I had a meeting today with Ken Hudson, brother Ken Hudson at Masonic Village, to go over some plans on trying to get together with the new head guy, which he wants to meet with Masonic Lite podcast. So I'll be setting that up with you.
And by head guy, you mean Grand Master?
No, not the Grand Master.
The head
head
guy
of
at the
Masonic
villages.
Village.
Of
Masonic Villages Incorporated.
We are working with that head guy to try to get.
Yeah,
him
there's a
on the
lot of
podcast.
head guys in this. Don't even say it, Pete. Just don't go there.
Following through
Don't do
with
it.
several other things also too. So that was my biggie today. Our lodge was closed this past Tuesday because of a snowstorm that hit. And otherwise, I would have report there.
What kind of a slack master
how
would
much
close
snow
a lodge
did you
for
get in
snow?
Lancaster?
The roads were wet.
Oh, okay. And all the stores were
And
out
it was
of bread
dark.
and eggs and.
You go to our lodge.
You don't know how many phone calls that I got saying,
yeah,
"Hey,
I
I'm
do.
not coming out."
Oh, I believe that. I texted you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Ken and I were supposed to go, and we decided that being in our 70s, we didn't want to fall or have an accident. So.
Yeah.
Okay, that one you can do. Go ahead.
Just so you know,
Depends.
I did a Masonic funeral last
Depends.
night in that snowstorm. So
I drove to Maryland.
Well, you had to go see him because he wasn't going to come see you.
yeah, right.
Larry, is that it?
That's it.
I guess I had a lot. We had I finished up my year as worshipful man. No, finished up my year as what was my job? Grand Tall Cedar.
What was my job?
And we had a Grand Tall Cedars going away breakfast that a bunch of us were here.
Oh yeah, was that?
Yeah, I know, Larry. I'm trying to remind you that you went to the breakfast. So that's done. I also finished out my year as Sovereign Master of Allied Masonic Degrees. And we had a meeting and a dinner, and that went very well. And we also raised $1,800 for charity in that group. Not Masonic, but I survived our Santa Stumble that we do every year. And we raised $40,000 for the mounted police and the canine units in Lancaster City.
That is
$40,000.
$40,000, yeah.
And you had
I don't
not the attendance you had in the past years.
No, it was cut down a little bit, but it was actually a fun amount of people. Because last year when we raised $53,000, it was obnoxious. It was so many people that you couldn't even get a drink in a bar because it was just too many people. This was apparently like the perfect
perfect
spot
size.
on the curve. You know,
That's awesome.
that's probably about it for me. Josh?
I canceled a lodge meeting.
Nice.
I think that really was
So you're 0 for 1.
You're
Good
over
start.
one, yeah.
That's a great start.
Great start.
Counts for some of the ones that you covered last year. So.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
You were at Grotto. You went to
I
the
was at
Grotto.
Grotto.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
to
that's
the,
right.
yeah,
None of us mentioned
Went
that.
to the Grotto installation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I forgot it.
El Duce.
So long ago. Oh
We
my
all
God, that
did.
was like the 14th.
I missed it. I was stumbling.
Yeah, that was the
Yes.
night of your stumble. But we did install a new Monarch in Ubar Grotto, El Duce,
Jeff Fulton.
Jeff Fulton. So
We look for great things from
he's
Jeff.
off and doing things that El Duce does, and
Mm-hmm.
we're looking forward to a great year in Grotto.
At least that's what we're saying.
That's what we're saying. That's our message, and we're sticking to it.
Alrighty. Well, let's take a quick break and we'll come back with our topic and a new sponsor. Well, not really a new sponsor, but we'll explain.
Why choose George J. Grove & Sons for your next home improvement project? At George J. Grove & Sons, we've built our reputation on quality and trust for more than 50 years. From planning to materials to installation, George J. Grove promises a home improvement experience second to none. Whether your goal is reducing energy costs, decreasing maintenance, updating curb appeal, or simply increasing the value of your home, the George J. Grove team will recommend and provide solutions that stand the test of time. Call 717-393-0859 for an estimate or visit us at georgejgrove.com.
And we're back. So tonight's episode is sort of being brought to you by Hidden Still Spirits. They didn't give us any money, but we did sample some of their product
Earlier.
before we got here.
Earlier, before, yeah.
So
And tell the
Jack,
significance of Hidden Still
so
Spirits.
Jack, you've got the bottle. Tell us.
So, okay.
You've got the
Long-
empty bottle.
Long story long. Our brother and a fellow prophet of the Enchanted Realm, George Reppert, is he's like the doctor of booze, or
He's a
what is
drink
he?
rep.
He's all right. He's a rep for
He's a distiller.
For distilleries around Pennsylvania. He also has a name. He's got some clever. God, I can't remember it. Sorry, George. But anyway, the new Grand Master of Masons in Pennsylvania is Thomas Gannon the Fourth. Okay, they're pointing at me. Has in his Grand Line a fellow named Ed Stein. Ed Stein has a brother who owns a distillery, and they have contracted all together to produce a bottle of bourbon, Pennsylvania bourbon, if you can call it that. Tim from Kentucky
What
calls
an
that
oxymoron.
There you go.
No.
Pennsylvania bourbon is in fact an oxymoron, but however, they're calling it that, and it's from Hidden Still Spirits. It's available on a limited basis. The bottles are all numbered. I'm waiting for bottle number 665-PM. That would be my lodge for me. And we tasted it, and it's not bad. I've had some
And
really
what's
dreadful.
what's it called? It's called Grandmasters.
It's called the Pennsylvania Grandmasters Blend, and on the label is a square and compasses, and in the lozenge of the square and compass is a fireman's helmet, which is Tom Gammon's fireman's helmet, and his call number 525. He's very involved in the fire department and in first responders and all that sort of thing. So this is kind of his logo for the year, and I'm sure this will be on his medallion when it comes out, is something similar to this. But he produced this in time for the installation, and I have from George that it was aged for 3 years and 3 months, 33, in 3 barrels of
plywood casks.
Casks of
Fat drums in the backyard of
with faux wood paneling on the inside. And so we at an undisclosed location previous to the show, we tasted, and it's
Go ahead. You can give a review because
Okay.
they're not. It's not a sponsor. He didn't give us any money.
No, but if you'd like to, we can change our reviews. So the the general consensus is that it is drinkable. It's not bad. It has a very nice finish. It's a little bit hot going in the first 4 or 5 shots. And then after that, it smooths out kind of nice, actually.
Actually, I would say after the first one.
All right. I'll give you that.
Being a connoisseur of bourbons, I would say that it is definitely very drinkable.
Well, the first one definitely had corners on it when it went down.
Yes.
Yeah. Broken glass,
Broken
maybe.
glass. No, not exactly. But no, I think it's very good. We have had other attempts at Masonic.
It's better than Old Master Scotch.
Better. Not even in the same ballpark with
so
that.
much better.
Oh, my gosh.
And no offense to our brothers in Maryland, I think it's actually better
the
than
rice wine
that Tiger Distilleries.
Yeah, yes. Oh, my gosh, yes. I use that to clean my sink with. This is really good. So if you're looking for if you're not a big bourbon drinker, this is really drinkable because sometimes bourbon has a really strong taste.
Mm-hmm.
This is very mild, other than that initial little bite.
It has a nice caramel taste. It's got a good
It is
got a
very
good mix
good. So-
and a really nice finish.
A very nice finish.
Alrighty. So there you go, George. Hope you come back on the show. You come on the show someday.
Next time, bring money.
Oh!
So, Jack, just a quick. This is not going to be a full blown hour topic. We're going to talk about 10 minutes on this. The flood of light. So many papers, so little time. What's the kind of the background you guys have on this?
So I'm 15 years into this, and only this last year did I really start to understand maybe kind of sort of some of what this might potentially be about. And it's only because I've got the time now to reflect a little bit and expand my horizons. Some of it has to do with our previous guest, Earl Fontenelle, and his Schwepp broadcast. But when I joined the fraternity and I started asking a couple simple questions like, okay, why St. John? What's that about? What's the whole slipper thing? What is this cable toe? Nobody could answer my questions. And I went around to people that I knew that I thought ought to know, past masters of my lodge and other people around the district, and nobody could answer any of my questions. So I sort of had to dig, and I found a couple fun rabbit warrens to dig around in. But there really wasn't very much out there in the mainstream of Masonic knowledge. There were a few things that were kind of highfalutin, like Quater Coronati Lodge and the Lodge of Research.
And the old timers like Mackey and Pike.
Yeah, and I read Pike. I was I think in my second year, and I read Morals and Dogma from cover to cover. And he was talking about Hermes, Trismegistus, and Kabbalah and all of this stuff, and it just went over my head. I wasn't ready for it. It didn't do anything for me. And they say when the teacher is ready, or when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I was apparently ready last year, and I started finding this stuff.
Well, I mean, to be honest, you can't swing a dead cat over your head without hitting something now.
Exactly, and that's the point. There's so much out there right now. There's podcasts and blogs and magazines and research societies and
conventions.
There are 54 Masonic podcasts out there.
54.
But
But you only need to listen to one.
That's right.
Is that counting all
Actually-
planets?
I looked at the top 10
Intergalactic
Masonic podcasts as reported.
So what are the other
2019.
nine?
Wait. Larry did research.
So, Larry, what are the other
let's
nine?
respect his research.
I mean, hold on a
Let's-
second.
come on.
Are we in the
And
top
did we
10?
make the top
We
10?
are in the top 10.
Get out of town.
Get out of here.
And one of the
According to us.
no, you can Google Masonic podcasts in the whole world, and you'll see that.
Well, it helps in the search engine thing that our name is called Masonic Lite Podcast.
No, I
We have
didn't-
2 of the 3 words in the search criteria.
No, well, yeah, you're right.
Masonic
You're right.
Lite.
But these are actual from apparently people like we. Who do we run our podcast through?
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud, and the various
Other groups.
other groups that run podcasts.
Which, by
That
the
comes from
way,
them.
we are now on iHeartRadio's podcast distribution.
Boom.
I discovered that this week.
And when will that check arrive?
It's out there. iHeartRadio podcast.
One of the polls had us at 3.
Nice.
Yes.
Let me guess. Masonic Roundtable. Not.
Whoa.
No?
Winding.
Winding Stairs.
Winding Stairs.
Number one.
Okay.
All right.
And
The theater thing.
the what?
They
don't even do that anymore.
I don't know, but they were on the list.
They're getting a lot of replays.
Yeah, they get a lot of
Wow.
replays.
Well, they should
guess.
have a comeback tour.
Yeah.
Masonic Radio Theater or whatever that was.
Yeah, Masonic Radio Theater.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
and the other ones that are out there, yes, Masonic Roundtable is up in the top 2 or 3, and we're down like about 7.
Okay.
But in the one of them, that we're number 3.
Wow.
So it's like you're using the Experian, not the TransUnion,
There you go.
because it gives you a higher credit score.
gives a higher credit
Firefox. Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
One more tool to add to the advertising program.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of just podcast. I mean, there's what 50 what
54.
54
54.
podcasts. So you can listen to podcasts. You can subscribe to various magazines now. The California has a fantastic research lodge.
Yep.
British Columbia has another fantastic lodge of research. Pennsylvania has a fantastic lodge of research now. All these people are putting out papers. AMD is exploding right now across the country. And all of AMD is putting out papers. So,
And even Scottish Rite. Scottish Rite
Yes.
with the Hot Grade
NMJ.
Academy.
Exactly.
Did I say it even close to correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's really more a matter of what are you looking for now, and there's so many places to find it. I think we've overwhelmed the anti-Masonic nonsense that now when you Google, Freemason, the anti-Masonic stuff is kind of it's obvious now, and it's sort of trite, and we've kind of overwhelmed it, but. I don't know. What do you guys, Josh? You're a pretty learned guy. When you go out to learn something about a Masonic topic, where do you go?
Well, I mean, I just look wherever I can find whatever topic I'm looking at. There's no like specific resources that I always, look to for Masonic stuff. So,
But you're on the internet, right?
I'm on the internet, yeah, for the most part. That's where I do most of the research because a lot of stuff has been, copied to the internet at this point.
Do you find any sites that you're going back to over and over again? I have one I'm going to express a little bit later on. This.
So I know the one site that I look at a lot is that Freemasonry. What is it? Freemasonry.com.
Freemasons-freemasonry.com.
Right.
It's called
They've been around for
Peter
a long
Stones,
time.
right?
Yeah.
Pietre Stones.
Right.
Yeah.
It looks like it was built with GeoCities and they left it that way.
Yeah.
But it's good. But the content's good.
It is so deep. It's a wonderful resource for new Masons. You can type any topic into the search box, and you'll get 6 papers on that subject, and they're all bona fide research, papers that are cited and footnoted, and that's the kind of stuff that I think is really exploding out now, and that's driving this whole new philosophical direction that we're taking. Earl Fontenelle used a phrase. He was real excited about being here, by the way, and anybody that didn't listen to that episode, please go back and listen.
Yeah, I got to listen to it.
But Earl, yeah, because that's the thing. On his website, he said I was interviewed by the Freemasons, and he was very excited about it. And it was cool, and he used the phrase. He says we're doing all of this academic philosophical research, But these guys are doing practical philosophic research. So they're looking at ways to take all of this arcane philosophy and put it to work. That's what the Freemasons are doing. And I wish I had thought to say that.
Like, that's blowing my mind currently.
Actually, come to find out, Joseph Fort Newton said the same thing. He coined the phrase practical philosophy. And that was, 100 years ago plus. But Earl came across it just organically in our conversations with him. And that's what's happening now.
I just saw that in a post by Isaac today.
Did you?
He posted that exact quote. Isaac of Mariners Lodge in New York, which I'll talk about later.
All right.
So here you go.
And what did he say about that?
Oh, I'll have to find the post. I mean, he
No, I
posted,
want you to record it right now.
Why he wants to
I'll dig it up.
do
No,
it later.
Right now,
he posted a meme.
Recite it from memory right now. It was a meme.
It was a meme.
How hard could that be?
We'll
But-
see.
So Tim, you're as a past master and a secretary and a fairly wise guy.
Well, other than calling Larry for help, I mean, that's usually who I go to.
That's the
Phone a friend.
No. The website you mentioned is a good one. The Masonic Society is really good. I love their publication. And then every lodge in Pennsylvania, I believe, gets the Masonic Service Association short talk bulletins.
Yeah.
And they used to mass produce those. And they now just send a single copy to the lodge and give photocopy rights to do that. And I believe their website now is searchable. So you can actually go on and
It is.
look up topics.
And
from
they
that.
have a podcast.
And they have a podcast of it, which if you're ever, if you're the master of a lodge and your program person cancels on you last minute, those short talks make great little programs.
Right. And they've been around forever. I
They've
think
been around for a long, long
1928, I
time.
think, or
Right.
something like that. They started doing that. So there has been information available, but the new Mason doesn't know where to go for it.
Right.
It's perfect, typical Masonic stuff that the old guys, and by old I mean long term in the fraternity, assume that the new guys know everything that the old guys know. And they would know where to go for that kind of thing. They would know that there was a short talk bulletin.
Well, you know,
I always assume that when you talk about old guys, you're talking about me, and I take it personally.
That's
You
generally
fit that
true.
category. You fit that category.
but okay.
You fit both categories.
So
actually.
for practical things, I'd have to say, me just finishing up my year in AMD, and in my specific AMD group, we're called the Junto Council, and we base our theme around the Junto questions of Benjamin Franklin. So I tried to pick this last meeting one of the more obscure questions that I didn't really understand. And I threw it out there, and we had 22 men discussing it in a room.
Right.
And, you know, finally, I heard one or two guys kind of like, I don't know, just like a paradigm shift. Like they were talking about these same words that we were saying, but it made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack was there. So, I mean, what was the word?
Fortitude.
No, temperance.
Temperance. Okay.
Yeah. And it's like one of the words we throw around in Freemasonry, but we only think about it in regards to alcohol.
Right.
Because that's how, like, in America, we think of temperance movement.
Right.
But our forefathers did not mean it in that meeting.
Right.
So,
And what they would do, I think, in a lodge meeting is they would have a discussion about it. And they would talk about what the various aspects of that topic were, and they would have a positive conversation about it, and what's called the Socratic dialogue, right, where two opinions come together to make a third that is closer to the truth, and that's
well, I mean, I guess I'm not a huge reader anymore, and when I do read, I like fiction, but for me, like that once a month having that discussion with a group of men that are smarter than me is I don't know, that's kind of where I get my information.
And that's a great source. And that's one of the reasons why AMD is the fastest growing body in Freemasonry. I think that's still true. Yasser, you're welcome to call and rebuke me if it's not, but I think it is, and I hope it is, because it's small groups, and depending on the AMD council that you're in, you may or may not be required to produce a paper. And here's where I get into trouble, because I have, as you've probably figured out, lots of opinions. And I'm not afraid to express my opinions or to defend my opinions. I'm also not afraid to change my opinion if you convince me that I might not be right. But there has been, and this is changing a little bit, a kind of a snobbery about Masonic writing, and that you're not allowed to write anything unless you can footnote it and cite examples and create a bibliography that's 4 pages deep that proves your point. And that's where I hang up, because I don't have time for that. I have a job and a house and a family, and I don't have time to travel around to libraries to see primary source material. I can't go to England and search the libraries of this or that. I can only digest the stuff that I've read and create opinions about it. And I'm very, very specific when I talk to the candidates that are going through the degrees that I'm working with, that I'm the mentees, if you will, that everything you're about to hear is my opinion. And as Albert Pike said in the preface to Morals and Dogma, everyone is free to accept whatsoever herein may be found to be, untrue or unsound. We only ask that you come to it without any preconceptions, right? That's a paraphrasing, but that's it. This is not. I'm not delivering dogma to you. I'm delivering you my opinion.
So let's since we're going to try and keep this at 10 minutes, what if we want to button that up? There's a lot of knowledge out there now. So what if we had to give one, summarize this? Just
wow.
our point.
Okay. Go ahead. No, Tim.
No, I think your statement of whatever you're looking for in Freemasonry is out there. All you have to do is seek it.
Yes.
And if you're in a local lodge and your local lodge, it's not their bag. Maybe they're not the group of people that are into the kind of research and the ideas you are. Keep looking. Maintain your membership and be a good Blue Lodge Mason, but if you want to, there's plenty of groups and there's plenty of free information out there for you to expand your horizons.
There's a ton, and bring it back to your lodge and maybe wake them up. That's another opportunity.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll hear about Tim's discussion with maybe not a discussion, but some information from the brand new Right Worshipful Grandmaster of Pennsylvania.
At the historic Smithton Inn of Ephrata, Pennsylvania, we're pleased to serve the latest creations from Weathered Vineyard Winery, along with spirits from Thistlefinch Distillery in Lancaster, all to be experienced in the tasting room of a beautifully restored 18th century bed and breakfast. Cigars by D&S Cigar are available for your enjoyment in the courtyard. The historic Smithton Inn is convenient to Lancaster County's most interesting attractions, just minutes from the Ephrata Cloister and the Green Dragon Farmers Market, and a short drive can get you to charming Lidditz, thriving downtown Lancaster, as well as Hershey, Bird in Hand, and Intercourse, or Valley Forge and Gettysburg. Whether you're looking for a romantic getaway or an active vacation full of sightseeing and attractions, the historic Smithton Inn will be a welcoming oasis from everyday life, one that you'll want to visit again and again. Stop in and visit at 900 West Main Street in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, or check out our website at historicsmithtoninn.com, or simply call us at 717-733-6094. Just ask for Past Master Dave.
And we're back. As Pete mentioned before we went to break, on December the 27th, which is St. John's Day, we were pleased to have Brother Thomas Gannon IV take the oath and obligation to become Right Worshipful Grand Master of I can never
The
remember
Grand Lodge
this.
of Pennsylvania.
Free and accepted Masons.
Free and accepted Masons of Pennsylvania and Masonic jurisdictions thereunto belonging. I love that title. That's great. I love it. And as part of his inaugural address, he highlighted his initiatives for the year. And I found them very interesting, and I think Masons, particularly all over the state of Pennsylvania, will find these interesting, and you'll be hearing more about
Now,
them.
is it so? He had 18, but we're not gonna read through 18.
We're not going to go through all of them.
So
I'm
some
gonna
highlights.
Summarize these. So,
Hit the ones we can fight about, Tim.
yeah, the ones we can talk about. One of the things that in the past we've been able to do is open and close stated meetings, what was called the short way. They're now doing away with that. All stated meetings have to be opened
in long form.
in long form.
Everybody
in ancient form.
In ancient form.
and okay, not that any of us have a vote because it is a
Grand Master's edict. He's
right.
when he says.
But I think we all give a thumbs up.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think sometimes when
Wait, are we going to vote honestly here?
Yeah,
or
I'm gonna vote,
Are we
yeah.
going to keep our dues cards?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I think sometimes when we get permission, sometimes we go too far, and we tend to make that the norm. And I think in all the different lodges that I looked at across that I've attended in the past few years, I think brethren lost that practice of the ancient form, and so I certainly think that's great. Extra meetings obviously can still be open and closed short way. Balloting, which for the last few years it had been permissive to conduct by a voice vote. No more. All balloting for initiation and membership must be done with the ballot box.
That's one I did want to have a quick, not a disagreement. I think it's perfect. It's fine. However, I effectively used the voice vote a couple times when I was master, when there was going to be something controversial, because when you can hide behind anonymity, it's really easy to throw a black ball. And let's just say if it's a person of color is joining your lodge and you don't have a person of color in your lodge before, if you want to say no, well, you better have the guts to stand up and show your hand and explain why, and not just be a coward.
Right.
And so, I mean, I don't know.
I did it once my year. I did it one voice vote, and that was because we had a really long program.
Yes.
And I wanted to clip as much off. We didn't sing one of the songs that we normally sing. We had, we opened short way. We had a voice vote for the ballot, and we got into the program because we had a guest waiting in the lobby.
Right.
But I think that's one of those things that because of the permissive nature of that,
Exactly.
many lodges just only did voice votes.
Correct.
And so they lost the practice of actually conducting a ballot.
So, I definitely agree with it. I found the one example.
It's just unfortunate that we have to have a rule about it because too many people went too far.
Right. In prior to this, in the last couple of years, we've been able to open lodges in the entered apprentice degree, and I don't know that I saw a lot of that, although I did see
That's
some
new,
of
though.
it.
That was new.
That was new
that-
with
yeah,
the most previous one.
Yeah, that was new with Gene.
But now, official visits by the Grand Master will be in the entered apprentice degree, and then lodges will be permitted to have one additional one. If the Grand Master is not visiting your lodge, then you can have two meetings a year open in the entered apprentice degree. And so that certainly, if you're bringing new candidates in, that would be an opportunity to get them into the meetings right away.
You know what? I understand why, but
Yeah.
I keep giving the third degree sign when I'm in one of those meetings.
Yeah,
So-
You're that guy?
I'm that guy because I just forget.
Yeah. Well, one of the things the master has to do is remind everyone when we open, we're opening in the entered apprentice degree. So that's
So is that just the Grand Master visiting or district deputy? Grand Master?
well. This came from my new district deputy. I believe that this was something from the Grand Master. You can have two entered apprentice meetings if the Grand Master is coming, one has to be them. Now, your district deputy may say,
I want it.
I want the
first
entered
degree.
apprentice degree for my degree, and that can be one.
All right,
of your two.
let's hit one or two more.
Yeah. No more one-day classes.
Yay!
I think we have unanimous vote on that. Although if a lodge or a district wanted to put one together, Grandmaster said he would be happy to issue a dispensation for that. Outreach programs are pretty much the same, just a continued emphasis on our Help for the Heroes and blood and donor program and stuff need to be pushed. He really wants to see the organization continue to be a family organization and encourage social events that include families. I'm trying to think. There's going to be ritual competitions. An interesting twist on the ritual competitions.
Feats of strength?
No, and not airing of grievances.
Can have it on Festivus
Team
Day.
members for the competition must be members of the fraternity for 5 years or less.
Ooh.
Which I thought was really interesting to encourage new people coming in to get involved in this.
Well, at least that way
And-
they're going to get the current version of the ritual.
Well, that's true. That's true.
It never changes, Pete.
Freeborn.
There's going to be Freeborn is actually back.
One black ball.
Yes, Freeborn is back. And it's been back for about a year. And I didn't know it until just a few months ago.
Anybody tell Moyer?
No. Probably not. Moyer, call in, will you? Can't wait for that phone call.
Bang!
Let's see. What else? There will be a new first responders pin. And obviously he wants first responders recognized at one of the meetings. Mentoring. Let's talk a little bit about that. He wants to continue the emphasis on mentoring new folks coming in as Master Masons. And I believe there will be some follow-up to that so that the Grand Lodge can actually monitor that lodges are actually mentoring new people coming in. So that's all I'll say about that at the moment. Interestingly, he said, we do not need more members. We need more Freemasons, which I thought was really profound and certainly something that I agreed with, that it's not just the dues that we want. We want the men who are truly interested in being Freemasons. He asked that everyone replace yourself over the next 2 years.
Is this a principal list that we can share up on our website?
I believe so. I'll double check that, but
Okay.
I believe that's something that if I know all the district deputies know that, and anybody that was present for his inaugural address heard this.
It was broadcast
And
worldwide.
it was
live
broadcast
stream, so-
worldwide, interplanetary on the webs.
It's a series of tubes.
Yeah, and then the last thing was actually something we talked about earlier, which was the Grand Master's bourbon being bottled. And profits from this actually are going to be donated to the Grand Lodge and I believe the Grand Master's charity. And more
You're welcome, Grandmaster.
More details will be coming out about that.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Now, let's segue into something a little different. You, Tim, took a topic we had on our show a few months ago, and you put it into practice. I guess your speaker didn't show up for a meeting, so you decided to...
No, actually, our incoming worshipful master of our new master, Kenneth B. Robinson, who was actually a former guest of this show, he was here on the scouting episode, indicated when he was installed that he wanted to have his programs such that it would engage our members who attend in conversation, if not during the program itself, then at least after the fact. So he acknowledged folks may agree or disagree with some of the topics or the points being made, but he wanted to encourage conversation.
Nice.
And so he asked me to, I shared with him the conversation that we had had, and actually it was an opportunity to plug the podcast. We talked about the 5 aspects of Freemasonry, and I began that with an updated piece of a program I did as worshipful master, which what I called the State of the Lodge, where I gave some membership statistics, a little bit of history of the lodge, and so on. It showed that actually as a lodge, we're actually doing a pretty good job of bringing some new folks in. About 25% of our lodge is under the age of 50. which I thought was pretty good. Of a lodge of 700, that was pretty good. Our oldest member was 101 years old. Nice. Is 101 years old. Our youngest is 20. We actually have, if I can get this to move, 32 members who are in their 90s. Wow. So we've got a lot of history in the lodge as well. And then what I began with is a discussion of the 5 aspects of Freemasonry, which are historical, ritualistic, esoteric, fellowship, and charity. And we spent some time talking about that. I won't go into that here, but explaining to the men present what those meant. And then, as a teacher, I said, I have an assignment for you. I handed them a piece of paper, and they had 2 questions. One, why did you join? And they were told to assign points, much as we discussed. You have 10 points, spread them out across these 5 areas: historical, ritualistic, esoteric, fellowship, and charity, and tell us why you joined. And within Eureka West Shore Lodge, we found that 37% of our folks who attended the meeting, and again, that's kind of defining the universe there.
All 4 of them.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, we had 67, I think, present.
Wow, that's a good meeting.
It was actually it was a low night for us. We average about 75 or 80 in attendance at our lodge. So
nice.
About our attendance all year.
37% joined for the historical reasons.
37?
37%. 13% joined for ritualistic reasons. They liked the idea of the ritual. 8% for the esoteric, 28% for the fellowship, and 13% for the charity. And then once they did that, I said, the second question was, what would you like to experience more of in your Masonic journey? Same 5 topics, same 10 points.
Same people.
Same people. And the numbers changed a little bit. It was interesting. 28% wanted to experience more fellowship, which encourages our social events and so on and so forth. 20% wanted to hear more of the history. Sometimes we feel like we talk too much about that, but 20% wanted more of that. And then 16% more ritual and more charity conversations. But in front of both of those at 19% was the esoteric. So about a fifth of those present.
So
wait, is that points scored?
That's points scored.
So it's not 19% of the respondents.
Right. It's of the
total number of points allotted.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
So we saw some shifts for why people came in versus what they wanted more of or wanted to experience more of. But then while all of these numbers were being tabulated by the people I coerced to be my counters, we entered into a conversation, and this was a conversation back and forth where, as I shared with you guys before the show, typically our programs, if they get longer than about 15 minutes, people start looking at their watches and start looking at the door. How
please
long
share that
before
with
we
Larry
can
when he does his program.
go give ice cream, get the ice cream and stuff afterwards. The program went about 40 minutes.
Whoa.
Wow.
And
I've never had one go that long.
And here's the thing of it: no one was asleep at the end, and several folks came up afterwards and said, "Thank you. That was incredibly interesting. It's the first time I've ever engaged in that kind of conversation like that, and it was incredibly well received." So we're going to actually put the little worksheet up on our website. And
somehow we'll
fig-
find somebody that knows how to do
we'll
that.
figure out
Well,
how to
what
do
we
that,
should
but-
do is try to go into like SurveyMonkey or something like that, and
Well, and I'm also willing to
Have
share this
follow-up questions.
Print the
PowerPoint,
form.
which will share
form.
the data, and any secretary in the state of Pennsylvania has access to this kind of data. Now, the thing to remember is the data is only as good as what's in there. So, I mean, I've spent 3 years really trying to update, birthdays, update addresses and phone numbers and that kind of thing.
Wives' names?
Spouses' names, definitely. We that was our big focus this year. we had an embarrassingly low number of spouses information in our database coming into this year. And nearly everyone who turned in a sheet with their dues completed that this year. So
Good.
That's what I've been spending a lot of time doing, going in and updating that. And what we found, more so than, sorry, my spouse died, is my spouse died and I've now remarried. So the spouse information that was in there was inaccurate.
Not only inaccurate, but embarrassing.
Embarrassing.
Right.
You know, when I go to Pete and say, oh, how's Judy doing? Oh, Judy died 15 years ago. I'm now married to Martha.
Does Steph know?
Yeah. That was an example.
Sorry.
So, anyway.
All right. Well, thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's putting it to work.
Yep.
That's great. Well done.
All righty. So, Jack, do we have any Masonic news, or am I catching you off guard here?
Oh, you are in fact catching me off guard, and if I speak slowly enough, I'll be go ahead, move on to something else.
All right. Well, how about this? We'll take a quick break. We'll listen to Jim Stevens. We'll come back. We'll hear the Masonic news, find out what we're up to and what's coming up, and Larry can get us the heck out of here.
It's time for the Lodge Business Brief with Brother Jim Stevens.
Well, again, Masonic Lite podcast listeners, this is Jim Stevens with another Lodge Business Brief. Groupthink is a nefarious foe. It occasionally happens to the best functioning group and often happens to those groups that are not functioning well. Groupthink happens when a group arrives at the wrong decision and then acts on that decision to often negative results. Along the way, the group ignored, devalued, and did not pursue red flags and warnings that they were on the wrong path. If any of the warnings had been heeded, they probably would have made a different decision. Well-known examples of groupthink are the Bay of Pigs invasion, the space shuttle accidents, and Pearl Harbor. The 2020 vision of history makes the errors obvious, but the people involved in the various decisions did not see them. The causes of groupthink are many, but a few of the leading reasons are unfortunately common in fraternal organizations. One or more dominant people control the agenda and discussions. Fear of or limitation of creativity, including doing it the way it has always been done. The creation of artificial constraints. This is related to the lack of creativity. We often put up barriers that don't actually exist. For example, only a past master can be a secretary. The need for harmony or being part of something. And lastly, a high group cohesiveness which forces the rejection of dissenting ideas. Fortunately for us, knowing the causes also provides visibility into the ways to avoid groupthink. A few suggestions are: leaders should encourage each other to take the role of critical evaluator. If that does not happen, the leader should appoint a person whose job it is to disagree and provide a counterpoint. Leaders should not express opinions when assigning tasks or work. Leave the group to make their own determinations. Leaders should not attend all of the group's meetings. Leave them to work without any undue influence. Not only does this limit the leader's singular influence, it keeps them neutral. They will then be able to better see alternatives, red flags, and ask probing questions. For critical functions, 2 independent groups can be created to work in parallel, then compare the ideas. The final decision can then be either the best of the 2 or a combination of the solutions. External opinions can be used, including the external evaluation systems, consultants, and guests. Don't be afraid to ask another worshipful master for their input. Prior to investigation, the group can determine a rigid definition for success. This prevents the weakening of the group's intent. Groupthink is hard to see happening. Leaders of all types should be on constant guard against its negative effects. Additional ideas on how to more effectively identify and fix problems can be found in my book, Lodge Business, the Theoretical Application of Entrepreneurial Business Practices to Blue Lodge, available on Amazon. This is Jim Stevens with your Lodge Business Brief.
In Masonic news today, as Australia roils in the shadow of the worst wildfire epidemic in recorded history, the Grand Lodge of Victoria has declared that all lodges in the state shall henceforth be non-smoking lodges. In related news, A plan to merge with the Grand Lodge of Tasmania is being discussed. Be the change, the Grand Master said at a recent bucket brigade while tossing seawater on a smoldering wallaby. But seriously, from the ashes, ye shall rise. Keep the faith, brothers. You are in the prayers of Masons around the world. That's the Masonic news. So moan it was.
Nice save.
Nice save. Yeah. Yeah. It is terrible.
It's awful. It's unbelievable.
Orange.
It's the whole continent looks like it's
I
on
think
fire.
Jack Aquilina has actually erupted into flame because we haven't heard back from him since we sent messages and stuff. So,
I said I told somebody the big difference.
Steve Austin too.
In America, it's like in California, only where like the very wealthy people are that burn. Mm-hmm. In Australia, it's everything.
It's everything.
Yeah, and it's
because it's they're deforesting like these areas that people are living in the United States in these areas where they shouldn't be living.
Right.
And and all that will be left are the invasive species after it's all done. There's so many invasive species down there now. It's awful, and God knows we're with you. There's nothing we can do except watch it burn and
pray for rain.
I think it's amazing when you see some of the pictures from down there. We think of animals as a different kind of species. Of course, they certainly are. But when you see them interacting with humans because their life was saved by a human, and they're hugging them, and the animals are. I mean, it's amazing, and it makes you rethink your feelings about animals as a species. They do have a brain. They do think. They're apparently not maybe as long as we do or don't focus on it, but they certainly can sense someone helping them and keeping them alive, and they show appreciation for it. I mean, it is absolutely amazing to see this on film and on stills. It's incredible.
Indeed.
Makes you begin to think differently about all animals.
Who are you, and what did you do with Larry?
That may be the most profound 42 seconds of Larry's podcast.
I'm not even going to snark at that.
Well, that was beautiful, Larry. I hope we got that on tape.
Please let us get that on tape.
Someone get that to Jungle
Josh,
Jack Hanna.
Josh, start the recording right now.
Okay. Does anybody have anything going on? Tim, you have anything going on that you're coming up for you?
My calendar is packed. Coming up over the next few weeks, there are a number of secretary trainings that we'll be doing with the 2nd, 3rd, and 42nd Masonic District, and maybe a couple of others in Carlisle on January the 11th. In Lite, Pennsylvania, I have no idea. Lehighton. February the 15th. Actually, January
it's
the 20th.
It's a 610 area code, but the local calling is in the 570.
Okay.
Just
go
saying
to,
that
go
as
to
a
Coal
former,
Country and turn left.
As a former Bell Atlantic employee, I know the weird exchanges there. So
up near the border of New York, just south of Binghamton, is a place called Hop Bottom.
Yeah, baby.
But let me tell you what, I'm doing a training up there on the 25th. It has the best cigar lodge I've ever been in.
What?
And I am so looking forward to meeting with the district deputy and the folks up there. And,
Hot
all the
bottom
secretaries.
cigar.
Hop Bottom.
Better than DNS?
It is not DNS.
Wait,
I like DNS.
Hop with a P?
Hop with a P.
Hop with a P. Oh, yes. Interesting. All right.
And then from February the 5th through the 9th is Masonic Week down in Arlington, Virginia. And rumor has it that there might be a host or two at that event looking for interviews.
Sit in the bar upstairs.
Sit in the bar upstairs, if nothing else. And then, by the way, I forgot to mention Lucius Securitas AMD Council 453 will be meeting on January the 17th.
How many carats? What?
Lucius Securitas.
January 18th and 19th, the Tall Cedars Midwinter Convention in Gettysburg. Now, here's the coolest thing I'm going to be doing, and I don't think they need the advertising, but I'm throwing it out there if anybody wants to meet me. January 25th, I am going up to New York City.
Yes.
To the Grand Lodge of New York. Mariners Lodge number 67, and their website is mariners67.org. They're having their Maritime Festive Board and Beefsteak Banquet. This is $150 a person. It is 5 or 6 courses of meat. Meat. Like, you start off with salmon, and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So ridiculous, they give you a butcher's apron to wear to protect your tuxedo. It comes with beer and wine included. But
And
rumor
defibrillator
has
paddle.
it that you could probably bring in a bottle of Jameson if you're willing to share.
Nice.
So, anyway, I'll be going. I'll be meeting a lot of friends up there. Anyway, if you can swing a hotel room in Manhattan,
If there
come on
is
out.
a snowstorm that hits Hop Bottom that weekend, I'm on the train.
March 13th. March 13th at the Valley of Reading. I will be myself and the rest of the Francis Marion Hiley chapter of Rose Croix will present the Feast of the Paschal Lamb.
That's exciting.
You
I
got
will-
that all out without stumbling at all. That was impressive.
I will be the
Damn.
Knight Stewart Orator, and if you want a good Catholic boy at a Masonic event to explain Passover to you,
A multicultural event.
I got you, boo.
I understand there's a lightning storm scheduled for that day as well.
So yeah, I'll be explaining the Passover and the foods on our Passion Cross banquet table.
Nice.
Awesome.
That would be fun.
Let's see here. If you want to visit Scottish Rite, nmj.org. You can find out when all the reunions are coming up, because some of the jurisdictions start earlier. I think ours around here are not till May. But
Don't they have some cool stuff at a website called Marketplace?
they do. You can go into the Masonic Marketplace and buy a cool hat.
Is that the hat you're wearing?
No, my hat is from the Valley of Reading. It's very special.
Only because they printed that on the back.
Yeah, and or if you want to get educated, you can go into the Hot God Academy. So the website's huge. There's lots of things to do in there.
Huge?
Huge.
Did you say huge? Is it orange?
All right, Larry. Unless anybody has anything going on, just take us out of here.
You ready to go?
Yeah, it's like midnight.
Is it? All right, cue the chickens. A special thanks to Ephrata Lodge, and we are back in Ephrata Lodge 665
Yeah, baby.
for continuing to make this wonderful top 10 Masonic Lite podcast
Number 665.
in the universe.
665.
Thanks to Josh Lamberton, our producer and director, who continues to make the show good. Thanks to Jack Harley, our news director.
Thank you.
And please address all correspondence to Jack Harley at so-and-so Ephrata, Pennsylvania. To Tim Denman, our marketing director, and our Masonic Lite podcast contributors, Michelle Snyder and Jim Stevens. I really don't have a closing other than that tonight, so I'm going to say this is Larry Maris. I do thank you for listening, and come back again.
On our next episode, we are going to be interviewing a young man who is the head groundhog. And we're going to be next episode. We're going to talk about groundhog lodges in Pennsylvania and the Masonic connection.
And
Did we do that last month?
No, we didn't.
We're going to do it for next episode.
Yeah.
I'm Pete. You guys catch you later.
And this is Tim.
And Jack.
And Josh.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
There it is.
Hey, Masonic Lite Podcast. I guess I should have listened to my critique of episode 85. I introduced myself as Past Master. I forgot my name. Anyway, Past Master Moyer. Maybe you want to put that in there whenever you put this on whatever podcast, although you may not want to use the one I just sent you. And this correction. Bye.